You got everything you wanted, maybe not everything, but enough. Enough that you should feel okay. The job is stable, the people around you care, there's food, there's comfort, there's a life that looks, from the outside, completely fine. And yet, you're lying in bed at night and there's this feeling sitting in your chest, not pain exactly, not sadness, just nothing. A low, quiet emptiness. Like something important is missing, but when you try to name it, you can't. So you pick up your phone, you scroll, you watch something, you eat something you didn't really want. Anything to fill the silence, because the silence feels like a question you don't know how to answer. And the worst part, you feel guilty about it, because your life is fine. People have it so much harder. So you tell yourself to snap out of it, and that works for a few hours. And then the feeling comes back. There's actually a reason for this. And it has nothing to do with being ungrateful, or broken, or too sensitive. It has everything to do with how your mind was built, and what it's quietly doing underneath all the ordinary moments of your day. Let's start here. You were never just sad. You were never just restless. You've always felt things at a depth that most people don't talk about in public, which means most of your life you've been carrying experiences that didn't have words, in a world that didn't have space for them. And emptiness is one of those things. It sounds simple, but it isn't. Because there are two kinds of empty. There's the kind that comes from loss, grief, longing, loneliness. That one people understand. But then there's the other kind, the kind that appears when nothing is wrong, when life is technically working, when you have no good reason to feel the way you do. That second kind, that's the one no one talks about, and it might be the most disorienting feeling a human being can experience, because it doesn't make sense. And humans are terrified of what doesn't make sense. Here's what's actually happening inside you. Your brain has a default mode. Scientists call it the default mode network. It's the part of your mind that activates when you're not focused on a task, when you're in the shower, when you're commuting, when you're staring out the window. Most people assume this is rest. It isn't. This is when your brain becomes most active, processing emotions, reviewing memories, building your sense of self, asking quiet questions you don't know how to answer. For people with rich inner lives, overthinkers, deep feelers, highly sensitive people, this network runs harder than average. It doesn't rest, it reaches. And when the external world can't match what the internal world is searching for, the brain registers that gap as emptiness. It's not that you're broken. It's that your inner world is enormous, and your outer life, no matter how good, sometimes can't fill it. And here's where it gets even more specific. You've been performing for a long time. Not consciously, not in a dishonest way. But somewhere along the line, you learned to adapt. You learned what version of yourself was easiest for other people to handle, and you became very good at being that version. You got so good at it that most people think they know you. And most of the time, they know the version. The real you, the one who feels too much, thinks in circles at 2 a.m., finds certain music unbearable because it touches something too deep. That one barely gets seen, even by you. Psychologists call this emotional suppression. And what the research consistently shows is that when we habitually contain or redirect emotional experience, those emotions don't disappear. They compress. They become ambient. They become a low, constant weight in the background of everything. Not quite sadness, not quite anxiety, not quite emptiness, but something that feels like all three at once. You're not feeling nothing. You're feeling everything that you never let yourself feel, all at the same time, from a distance. There's another layer to this. You've probably noticed that the emptiness gets louder after something good. After a milestone, after an event you were looking forward to, after a conversation that went well. It's almost like the joy peaks, and then drops off a cliff. And you're left standing there thinking, is that it? This is called arrival fallacy. The psychologist Tal Ben-Shahar named it, this quiet disappointment that follows achievement, the gap between the dream of something and the reality of having it. But for you, it runs deeper than achievement. It happens after ordinary good moments too, because some part of you has always believed that happiness was supposed to feel more solid than this. More permanent, more like proof. And when it isn't, when joy turns out to be fleeting and the good feeling doesn't hold, you don't conclude that this is just how emotions work. You conclude that something must be wrong with you. It isn't. Emotions are not meant to be permanent. They are meant to pass through. The problem isn't that you can't hold on to happiness. It's that no one ever told you that you weren't supposed to. Now here's the one that might actually stop you mid-scroll. You are searching for something you cannot name. And that's not a metaphor, it's literal. There is a version of your life, a version of yourself, a depth of connection, a kind of creative or intellectual or spiritual experience that lives in you as a feeling you've never fully had, but somehow recognize. You've touched it in certain songs, in certain books, in certain conversations at 1 a.m. with someone who actually saw you, but you've never found it fully, never sustained it. And because it has no name, you can't chase it. So instead, you try to fill the space where it should be, with content, with noise, with plans, with productivity, with anything that feels like forward motion, because forward motion at least feels like purpose. But the emptiness always comes back, because it isn't asking to be filled. It's asking to be understood. What you're feeling isn't a symptom of a life gone wrong. It's a signal from an interior life that is immense and underused. It is the sound of depth that has nowhere to go. And in a world that rewards surface, fast answers, quick reactions, easy emotions, depth can feel like a defect. It isn't. The people who feel this kind of emptiness are, almost without exception, the ones with the most to give, the clearest thinkers, the ones who sense things others miss, the ones who, when they finally find the right space, the right work, the right person, the right version of themselves, become extraordinary, not despite the emptiness, because of what the emptiness was pointing to all along. So if you've been sitting with this feeling, not knowing what to call it, carrying it quietly because it seems too vague to be valid, maybe this is the first time someone said it plainly. You're not ungrateful. You're not numb. You're not broken. You're someone whose inner world runs deeper than most, in a life that was never fully designed to hold it. And the emptiness you feel, it was never a sign that something is wrong. It was a sign that something, the right something, is still waiting. Maybe the work isn't to fix the feeling. Maybe the work is to finally stop being afraid of it.